This is Albania. It is a small country in Eastern Europe, and it has a long history of being conquered. Albania is not the blue one, though. It's this one. But I bet you probably didn't notice. You're not good with maps, are you? Albania is part of the Balkans and shares a border with Greece. Going way back to the 14th century, Albania was undergoing some massive changes. They were subjects of the Roman Empire at the time and had a large Christian population, but now it was the Ottoman Empire's turn to conquer them. The Turks imposed harsh laws which caused many to flee the country. Two-thirds of the population became Muslims since they imposed heavy taxes on and persecuted Christians. But then, 600 years later, Albanians decided they had had enough. In the uprising of 1912, Albania and the Balkan allies defeated Turkey in a war, and Albania gained independence. However, the great powers decided that Albania would have to cede a lot of their major territories and installed a new prince to run the country, who went by the name of Wilhelm II. Weed gave up and ran away when World War I started, and Albania was invaded and occupied by 6 different countries. This acronym can help you remember which countries invaded Albania during World War I. It can be remembered as either Sigma with an accent, Sfigma, or as if you were someone who really, really disliked Sigma. At the end of World War I, Albania was really helped out by U.S. President Woodrow Wilson, who vetoed a plan to partition Albania amongst its neighboring countries. Yay. After World War I, there was a strong division in politics. Ahmet Bey Zogu was supported by ultra-conservative landowners and those tied to the Ottoman Empire. Van S. Noli was an American-educated bishop who was supported by liberal intellectuals and merchants. At first, Noli was more popular, and due to revolt, Zogu fled to Yugoslavia in 1924. While he was gone, Noli adopted a radical program of land reform and modernization, and immediately lost support. 6 months later, Zogu came back to Albania and overthrew Noli, becoming the new leader. Zogu started off as a president, but then in 1928 decided to become a dictator, naming himself King Zog I. Zog relied a lot on Italian loans, and Italy had a strong presence in Albania. With Musi's money, the one good thing that Zog did was lay the foundations of a modern educational system. Other than that, the government had to import food grains to stop people from starving, and this further put them in need of loans, and Zog denied democratic freedoms to the people. There were constant revolts against his regime, largely from the educated class, and this political unrest led to the formation of communist groups in the country. With all the instability in the onset of World War II, Albania was ripe and ready for Musi. On April 7, 1939, Italy invaded and quickly occupied the country. King Zog turned tail and fled to Greece.
Okay, now onto the topic of communist takeover in Albania. I hope my MS Paint visual aids can help you. We know that since 1939, Albania had been under Italian rule, and in 1943 it was occupied by the German military. But in 1944, the German military was booted out of Albania, and a communist provisional government led by Enver Hoxha was formed. Albania had liberated itself, and therefore it became the People's Socialist Republic of Albania. Hoxha essentially gained popularity after the NLM, the National Liberation Movement, there's a lot of those, was victorious during World War II. The NLM was an anti-fascist communist resistance group led by Hoxha himself. The NLM also happened to be the ones who organized an election, which, surprise, surprise, they won the popular vote, and then boom, its leaders became government members, just like that. This would soon be replaced by the Democratic Front. Very democratic. Now, after Hoxha was elected, he decided that he needed to purge, get rid of, persecute anyone who he believed was a war criminal, or throw them into labor camps. You can choose which fate was better. But just like a very important person who you should probably know a lot by now, and also probably be reminded of right now, Hoxha was a bit crazy, and he definitely killed more than just war criminals. In fact, probably he killed anyone who opposed the Communist Party, and 25,000 people were sentenced to this fate.
So, what happened in Albania after the communist takeover? Honestly, not much. Albania was primarily self-contained for most of the Cold War. In the beginning, they established strong diplomatic ties to China and Yugoslavia to help with their severe social and economic issues. There were a lot. Although Hoxha soon decided that, diplomatic relations are kind of for losers, and alienated Albania from both Eastern and Western forces. With the help of other countries, though, Albania was able to begin the process of industrialization and increase the standard of living for all of its citizens. Life was pretty decent for the Albanians, other than the intense political oppression, the secret police, as well as being forbidden to leave the country or, practice any form of organized religion. But other than that, it was pretty swell. Once Hoxha kicked the bucket, he was succeeded by a guy named Alia. Alia wasn't a great leader, but he was smart enough to realize that, hey, maybe this whole communism thing wasn't working out that well. Once other communist governments started imploding, he put in lots of reforms, including respecting basic human rights. Wow, great job. Finally, in 1990, under intense pressure from students and workers of Albania, Alia announced that the Communist Party had abandoned its right to rule, resuming free elections in the spring of 1991 and allowed for other parties to be formed. The very next year, Democrats won many seats in the government, and while the country had a long way to go until it was a fully functional country, it was on its way out of communism. Hooray!